Yeah, I'm sure his family will be watching and they'll be proud as well. So, yeah, just overall a really good night.
Fantastic achievement. Well done, Harry.
Cheers, thank you. Yeah.
He is a history afternoon. Spurs closing the gap on the top four. They're just a point behind Newcastle now, having played a game more than them. And Manchester City missing out on the chance to close the gap on Arsenal at the top. It remains at 5 points, and Arsenal have a game in hand. And remember, they still have to face each other twice. So what does it mean, Micah, in the context of this season, that result for Spurs here this afternoon?
Yeah, well, from Spurs' point of view, it's obviously brilliant. From Man City's point of view, it's not been good enough. I think we talked about the style of play and playing with a number 9. Last season, everyone was talking about they definitely need a number 9 to finish off all these chances. They won 4 leagues, you know, in 5 without a recognised striker. I think City are just a little bit different now. I think they force it a little bit too much. In fairness to Haaland, he's making so many runs, especially in that first half, and no one's seen him. Alvarez was in there trying to play that number 10 role, and then alongside him, but he's not that sort of play. You're looking for Kevin De Bruyne to make that assist. And when Kevin De Bruyne came on in the second half, he changed a little bit. He was getting onto the ball and making crosses from both sides. But they're just missing that spark at this moment in time.
But would it be fair to say you had doubts about City as soon as you saw the team sheet today?
If I'm being totally honest, you know, it's a big story with letting Cancelo go to Bayern Munich, and something must have gone on, because you don't let a fullback of that calibre go without there being some sort of problem. In fairness to Pep, he's gone with Ake, he's gone with Akanji. This season they've been done really well. Rico Lewis as well, and I thought he did OK on that, you know, left back, considering he's played right back and he comes into midfield. And Walker at times has done well, but in terms of the best back four, you're looking at Stones, you're looking at Laporte, you're looking at Diaz. Unfortunately, they've not hit the heights of, you know, a couple of seasons ago, so he's gone with the players that are in form.
There will be a City inquest, no doubt, Jamie, and it'll start with us here very shortly. But in terms of Spurs, was this an improved performance today? Were they worthy of that win?
Yes, they were. And I said on commentary, it felt like this is an Antonio Conte team working at its best. He knows before the game Manchester City or a lot of the other top sides are going to make the play, they're going to get on the ball. He doesn't worry about that. And he'll think he's still controlling the game even if he hasn't got the ball, his team. So that's not a problem. The problem's been is when they've given the initiative to other teams, as they do more often than not, the other teams have capitalised on their mistakes. So whether the goalkeeper's good enough or the defenders are actually good enough for a Conte team to win, that's always been my sort of criticism of this Spurs team under Conte. If they want to win, they're not going to change the style. He's going to want a better goalkeeper, maybe defenders. But today, defensively, they were outstanding, winning the ball back and counter-attack. And that's when a Conte team is at its best. It is. And as I said, they've got a devastating front three. But I thought the midfield to Højbjerg and Bentancur in midfield were absolutely outstanding. The amount of times they won the ball and broke from there. That is exactly how a Conte team plays. That's how Antonio Conte, when he's dreaming of how his team plays, how it's going to beat up Manchester City, that's what it does. And today, they never give Manchester City a sniff in terms of getting a goal.
The goal came relatively early. Did that give us some evidence of a different approach from Spurs this afternoon against top opponents?
I think we knew what was going to happen before a ball was kicked. They were going to sit in, absorb the pressure. Nobody gets... In recent years, maybe only Liverpool would have more of the ball when they play City. City dominate the ball. They were careful, they were cautious, they didn't overcommit. They knew that sooner or later a chance was going to come around. Unfortunately, it dropped for Harry. If you watch Dyer, he goes all the way in with Alvarez. Ask Jamie, it was a centre half. Centre halves don't want to go all the way in there. They want to hold hands with his mate in a back four or a back three. He's gone all the way, which is leave man for man at the back. If you look with the Spurs players, 4 against 4 there. And it's very brave of them. But they've worked on that. You know, Teddy Sheringham was a problem for teams. My mate Kenny Dalglish was a problem when he went in there. Centre-halves did not want to go in there. But for me, this is all down to Rodrigo here. This is a sloppy pass. The young boy Lewis doesn't want the ball. He's rolled into him. It's not even passed properly into him. And give Højbjerg great credit for managing to stay on his feet and get his pass off. But watch the pace on the ball that Rodri plays into Lewis when it eventually comes back to him. He's rolling it into him. He's never there. Højbjerg's read it. And I played there. I used to get so much pleasure at doing this, what Højbjerg does here. So much nicking it there, because you know it generally lead to an effort on the opposition's goal. It was good play all round by them.
Yeah, I feel for Rico Lewis in that position, and I think Rodri really let him down.
It's a lot of responsibility, isn't it?
Well, listen, that's we've raved about him, you know, so he can take that responsibility. He takes the ball in there, he's really brave. Obviously, we see the finish from Harry Kane. But what Rodri does is, he knows the pass he's going to make just before that, but just keep an eye on Harry Kane here. He's always alive, opens up his body there. Højbjerg does absolutely tremendous there in terms of getting his jersey pulled and can still find that pass off, and the main man gets his goal. But I just want to look at Rodri here, and I know when players do this, he plays it once, and as it comes back to him now, you just slow it down. He knows he's going to play this pass into Lewis, and he's trying to entice the Tottenham player onto him to almost play a 1-2 round the corner. But because Rico Lewis has stood still, Højbjerg reads the pass and then jumps. He should play the pass maybe to Kyle Walker, he could play it to the goalkeeper, but even to play it to Rico Lewis, it's that one where you're sort of...
It's slow, he just instead of firing it instead of a yard, he just rolled in. It was an invitation that Højbjerg couldn't refuse. Watch the pace on the pass here. I mean, he doesn't want it. Young Lewis doesn't want the ball here when it comes back to him. He's just rolled it in. You know,
you see, he has a little look there. He has two feet up. You can see him now. He should pass now.
Watch the pace.
Lewis was on earlier on.
I think we're talking about the pass there, but to be honest, Rodri, the pass there, should have just passed to Walker. Walker was the obvious choice. Go round and then go round the other side. I agree with Jamie. He's tried to draw him out, and then they could pass it once and break that line. But in terms of, he should have just passed to Walker.
That was a pass. The pace on the ball was someone coming towards the ball. Lewis didn't come towards the ball. If he was going to try and find him, he had to snap into him. And it's all down to Rodri. He's just got it wrong at a vital time for him.
But in terms of a change of approach, I suppose what I mean by that is that Spurs have been accused of being quite passive, especially here in recent games. But is that not evidence of them being more aggressive, more on the front foot?
I think in one instance, yeah, and they've got the goal, so we can maybe use that as an example. But earlier on in the game, let's not forget, I think Manchester City were up at almost 75-80% possession. And again, I think Antonio Conte is probably watching that wherever he is. Not too worried because Manchester City aren't causing them a problem. That's my point. I think that was one action where they actually, you know, they pushed up. I wouldn't say it was everyone running everywhere like a mad high press, but they pushed Manchester City back. And in that sort of situation, it gave them opportunity because of Manchester City's sort of sloppy passing. I wouldn't say that's now going to be the new Spurs or a new
just a
idea.
timing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't a timing.
This is a one-off game. They don't play Man City every week. Man City are regarded as the best team in the league. You know, the Spurs supporters will accept that today, but they wouldn't accept them playing against the lesser teams. They'd want to be on the front foot.
But they've had to, Graham, haven't they?
Well, you were 100% correct about Antonio Conte and the Italian approach to it. They're quite happy not to dominate the ball and win games. You know, they organise themselves defensively, they'll just absorb the pressure, and they'll nick a goal and then may end up with 30% of the ball, but they'll see that as really good football. He'll be delighted with that. But my point is they can't play like that against the lesser teams. The support here have been up in arms about not being on the front foot enough. So today was a one-off. Enjoy it. And I think they should cut, and I've said this to you before, should cut Conte some slack. He's only been here such a short time. And he will, I think, ultimately bring them success if they stick with him and support them.
It's a one-off for Spurs every season. 4 times that City have come here and 4 times they've left beaten and without scoring. Here's their first reaction. Kyle Walker with Jeff Shree.
All too familiar story at the stadium for Manchester City.
Listen, it's disappointing, obviously. We've come here to, first of all, pick up 3 points, but also, you know, get a result at this stadium, which we haven't got. But we move on now. We've got to work hard this week, move on to, you know, the next game and, you know, try and go on a run that we know that we can do.
Even if you give Tottenham Hotspur credit for the victory, how much were you yourselves today, do you feel?
I think it's difficult. I think when you've got 5 at the back and, you know, 2 holding 3 that are just going to run in behind with Harry dropping, it's always going to be how much do you go forward without conceding too much at the back. It's a little bit of a cat and mouse, but I felt that, listen, a couple of chances going that we had, you know, with the Riyadh one, it could be a different game. It swings in your, you know, the momentum swings in your favour. But listen, they've got the win, they've dug out the result, and we probably definitely could have done better.
Where do you think you could have done better?
I think it's just creating the chances. You know, I'm not being negative with, you know, anyone, but it's, you know, certain things that we can do in and around the box that we can improve on, you know, making that clear-cut chance, making that keeper make a save, or it's a parry or the seconds, or just creating more of a clear-cut action rather than having great possession around the box and, sometimes, you need to have shots and, get shots on target.
Are you still completely bedded in with Erling Haaland yet? He seems to make a number of runs and not get the ball. Is there still a bit of work to do there?
I think it's a process. I think everyone that's come to Manchester City, where I've been here for 6 years, it's a difficult team to fit in. But, because the manager demands so much, the way we play, it's unique. It's unique. But listen, Erling's been fantastic. No one says anything about Erling when he's scoring goals and we're winning. Everyone's all of a sudden now we don't win or he doesn't score. Is it a problem? Do we play better without Erling? I hear it all the time, but no one's complaining when he's got, I think it's 25 goals already this season. So, listen, he's a fantastic player, and this is the team we've got now. This is the players that we've got from now until the end of the season, and we're going to fight until the end as we do.
You had a number of penalty appeals. How strong do you think they were, or was there one in particular you think was the strongest?
I think, listen, the refs have a tough decision. It's a tough stadium to come and start making calls. It's not me,
Harry Kane's record-breaking 267th goal for Spurs gives them a deserved victory over a City team who, by their own stratospheric standards, were a minor shambles. They could still have drawn or even won the game, because they are that good, but that was a slightly alarming performance. I've rarely seen him so angry or so ragged. The record-breaking Harry Kane speaks. It's a day I'll never forget. It's hard to put into words, just a magical moment. I was desperate to do it with a win as well, and in front of the home fans. There's been so much talk about it in the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to get it done as soon as possible. To do it here against one of the best teams in the world, it's a special feeling. Kane also became the third player, after Alan Shearer and Wayne Rooney, to score 200 Premier League goals. When I started playing regularly, 8 or 9 years ago, it wasn't even in my imagination to score 200 Premier League goals. To be there now, it's exciting, and I've got plenty more years left, so hopefully there's a few more to come. On his first Premier League goal against Sunderland in 2014, Tim Sherwood gave me my first start, and I was so desperate to make an impression. To score and win that game was just the start. There's been a lot of hard work since then with Mauricio and all the coaches. It's a magical feeling. Jimmy Greaves is a complete hero, one of the best strikers to ever play the game, so to even be in that company is special. I'm sure his family will be proud as well. Overall, a really good night.